networking, referrals, strategies for success, and real-life stories from professionals who are building a business based on relationship marketing. Welcome to the Caerusnet podcast. Here, you'll learn how to stay connected in the local business community and become that person others get to know, like, and trust, and refer to. And now, your host, Caerusnet founder, Steven Zyskowski.
Welcome to the Caerusnet podcast. Today, I've got with me somebody who doubles down in Caerusnet. Not only is he a Caerusnet member and has been of the Caerusnet Canton team, which he joined about 3 months before we went into the pandemic, but he's also the facilitator of a Caerusnet team that kind of is the Western Wayne County designation. Jeff Graunke from Thunder Bay Group, business consultant. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you, Steve. I do appreciate it. Look forward to chatting with you today.
Well, I've been looking forward to this as well, too. And I've got a question for you before we jump in further into this podcast. Who was it that told you about Caerusnet? How did you find out about it? As you know, almost 100% of my business is by referral. And I think it's fun to kind of just trace that line a little bit.
Sure. I actually got invited to a Caerusnet meeting through Vince and Kate from Apple Graphics. Probably 2 years before you and I actually got together. And they were meeting in a different area where their office was. And they had a pretty good group, but timing was just not right, I guess. But then obviously in 2019, when they've invited me to come back again, that made all the difference in the world.
Yeah, sometimes timing has a lot to do with it. And thank you to Vince and Kate, who are constant promoters of what's good in the world. And I think those are great people that you want to be surrounded with, because it's really easy to be critical and complain and whine. But Vince never comes to me with a problem. He always comes to me with solutions. And I always appreciate that about him.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely.
Well, let's talk about you. So, being in Caerusnet and me facilitating, 6 teams for the last 15 years, I've met a lot of different people in what I like to call the help space. People that just have a big heart. They want to see other businesses or other professionals very successful. Some are in the life coaching realm. Some call themselves sales coaches or business coaches. You are a business consultant, so we've got to define what that is. Help us out, Jeff.
Well, working with my main focus is working with small business owners, even solopreneurs. And a lot of times they don't have a direction to work in to make their business better. And I come to them with a little bit of the solutions and a track to run on, and really work on holding them accountable. Sometimes it's like being a parent. You want your child to succeed, and as you want your business to succeed. So we put together programs, and I'm just not bossing them around. It's a marriage, so to speak, of the two of us, or a partnership to really get that business moving in the right direction.
Yeah, so just give me an example then, maybe of a few things that you've been working on in tandem with your clients, areas that you've consulted, where you're working with that particular person. What types of things are you working on or like to work on?
Currently, right now, I have a unique group of gentlemen that are all in the same industry. They are all programs and code writers, been doing it for years, since it was first in vogue. And they have decided to join their services together to create a company. And once again, they're very, very talented at what they do. But as we find with many new business owners, they don't necessarily know the ins and outs of starting and or running a business. They make a great widget, but they don't know how to make a widget company. It's always a challenge. They've got some great ideas, and we sit down and whiteboard pretty much every meeting we get, because they have a lot of good ideas. So now we just categorize them and prioritize them. It really is what it amounts to.
Yeah, that's always exciting when you get an idea factory, but it can also be super duper overwhelming as well, too, because if everything's a great idea, then nothing's a great idea.
That's just, and a couple of them are very, very critical thinkers, almost, I don't want to say engineering, but they they live in a box. Some of them do, and they still step outside that box, but this is a whole new direction for them to step in.
Okay, that's great. So this is a business that's in the startup stages. They're all going to be starting a company together?
Together, they've had their own individual business, so to speak, and they all function in different areas and different companies they like to work with to help them through this. But now they're formulating a team. So when they present all four of them, they present them as one voice.
Okay.
And that's what we're getting at is we're looking at, if you were to walk into a group, we're going to present the group as a one thing versus four individuals, and that's really a task for them to really unify themselves.
Absolutely, for certain. And so let's take a contrast of that. Let's talk about a business that you might be working with that would be absolutely unlike this particular company that you just profiled.
Definitely. I'm working currently with a company that's probably 50 miles from my house here. And what it was a business that was sold to another entrepreneur in the area. But this entrepreneur didn't really have the expertise in what this new business was that he bought. They were in the same industry, but not in the same sort of category. And so we are working with the merging of that. And the business that he bought has a bunch of very experienced people that have all been with the old company between 30 and 42 years. So we are going to encounter something very quickly with this group called retirement. And so the new owner, and we are working on this currently, how do we backfill? We don't necessarily know when everybody's going to retire because they love what they're doing. But in some of the areas, it's somewhat stressful and difficult work. And people are getting tired. They like what they're doing, but they're just getting tired. So now we are working with the new owner to, where do we find the talent? How do we get the 30 plus years of experience out of the current employees and transfer that to a new group? I mean, it's great. We can learn all sorts of things through a book, but if you don't have the practical knowledge, it takes time to gain that. And so what we're working on is that knowledge transfer between the potentially old guard and the new guard, so to speak, coming in. And it's been a fun thing because we have a lot of characters in this group and they're fun to work with.
So it sounds like you have quite a diversity of clients that you see, all different types of industries, different stages of being in business. And when I look at what you do people come to you with a specific problem, like, hey, Jeff, this is the specific problem we want you to work on, or do you sit there with them and analyze every area of their business and then go, here's what I see are your top one or two problems? How does that work?
Actually, it can work both ways, and can work both ways very well. A lot of times folks will come to me with a specific problem, a business owner. And Jeff, I know that this is an area you focus on. And how do I make it work for me? And so I will sit there and work with that specific issue and go through and take them down the path that we need to go through to achieve the goal that they want. And then there are some companies that will come to me, or I will engage them, and I will sit down and have a couple of meetings with them really to find out, number one, I call my first meeting like a discovery meeting. I want to find out why you're doing what you're doing. It's almost like a touchy-feely meeting. Why did you get in the business? And once we understand that, we'll uncover a few of the challenges that business has. And maybe in my next meeting, which is more of a diagnostic meeting, I'll sort of lift up the hood. I want to find out really where the problems are. And then from there, we'll know where we can go. And we'll put together a program. And it may take us a couple of swings to do that. But in the long run, a lot of times I've had people come in with, like I said, the first issue was just a specific idea. And they might get done with it. We might be very happy with it. And 6 months later, they call me with something else. Mm-hmm. And back to it.
So what percentage of clients would you say you work with that are familiar with or have taken advantage of working with a consultant or a coach before? And I like to say people in the help space, but it's people that help you find your blind spots so you're not running your business off the road accidentally. So, so in that situation, what would you say, how would you answer that one?
Well, I think that, they all get blindsided on occasion, it really depends on whether they're a startup or an established business. There are always roadblocks you will run into. And our goal is to really identify those roadblocks, either through conversation or just them bringing the question to me, and then working past them so that doesn't occur again. It may occur, but we want to learn from that so we don't let it occur again, and take them to that next level goal.
Okay. Okay. And then in terms of the last real difficult question for your business, although you've answered them perfectly. So if you were to say, based on all of the business consulting now that I've done over the last many years and all the clients that I've worked with, I know that I can really help in these three areas with any business that I would come across. These would be like, if I could get referrals for these types of three opportunities all day long, I would be in consulting heaven. What would that look like?
Sure. And in all of our businesses, we know that we can't be everything to everybody. So we select certain areas that I like to work in. And I really do enjoy working with businesses that are startups. It could be just an individual solopreneur, and maybe not so much of the consulting. It is a little bit of the coaching. Let's just talk about this. As a friend, like you and I are sitting here talking, it's just, let's expose a few things. And then even going to the smaller business owner that might be a family run business, whether it's a husband and wife or a father and son, a mother, daughter, whatever it may be. And they just want to get things tightened up so that they can go further. And so it can be a smaller business, maybe less than 25 employees. And then you can look at it from the third end, which is the business owners coming to me and say, I need to retire. Mm-hmm. And putting a program together there is always very interesting, because how do we retire the business? My former career as a financial advisor, I work with people to retire themselves just through money and things like that. But a lot of those folks own businesses. Well, they say, well, the business is my retirement. That's great. What do we do with it?
Okay, so that's a great snapshot, I think, of different folks in different areas. And in terms of like initially working with you or somebody meeting with you to have that discovery session, how long does that normally last? What do you charge for this initial review?
Basically, those two first sessions, the discovery and the diagnostic, they will run, depending on the conversation in between, an hour to 90 minutes at most. And really, there is no charge for those two sessions, because I don't know if I can, a lot of times, uncover enough to have, and really, I want to find out whether they're willing to make the change. If you're going to fight me every step of the way, maybe that's not our best engagement. And that's really, I'm very comfortable with that, but I want to know about the business before I even make any monetary commitments. I mean, I've had companies, and one of the ones that you referred me to, I've worked with for now almost 2.5 years. And we've been very fortunate enough and had a great success over those 2 years. I probably averaged helping them 15 to 20% on an annual basis growth. So
excellent. Okay, that's great to hear. Well, let's shift gears to networking a little bit. It's been a pleasure really to have you in Caerusnet. I love people that just I don't know how to put it, but you always bring your best foot forward. You're always positive, and that's not always easy to do, because when you're also involved in everybody else's problems, some of those things perhaps you could personalize a little bit. So let's talk about networking in Caerusnet. So you're a member of the Canton team. You're also a facilitator of the Western Wayne County Caerusnet team. And so you get the unique perspective of being in Caerusnet as both a member and a facilitator, which is not uncommon. It's a very large percentage of members that have been or other way around, other facilitators that have been members, small percentage of people that are facilitating that were never a Caerusnet member. So in talking about that, why do you, there's lots of ways to go get clients, right? Lots of ways to try to find clients. Where does referrals and networking kind of fit into your strategy?
Well, I think since, I've been in this aspect of the industry probably since 2003, I've understood that networking and referrals are a very big portion of it. Getting out and being in front of people. You have to build a rapport with people. You want them to know, like, and trust you before they're actually ever going to refer anything to you. So those two go hand in hand, and being out in the public, whether it's through Caerusnet or whether other different venues, but it's always, putting yourself out there and being able to give a clear and concise message of exactly what you do and maybe potentially what you're looking for. And that's really, why I came to Caerusnet, because it's a broad base of people, and you've done a marvelous job of building such a great organization with a lot of tremendous people in there. And that builds a lot of trust. It really does, for it. From the other side, being a facilitator, I think the main reason I said that I would on be a facilitator with you for 2 years ago was probably in the fact that I value what I do as a business, and not only when I run a meeting with my gang, I run it more as sometimes I will do the training, literally being able to train them on how to help themselves in their own business, not necessarily referrals, but the overall workings of their business. So they get a little bit more of a different educational side from me on occasion.
Cool.
I definitely obviously use a lot of your other education materials that you put together, because you've done a wonderful job of that. But it's fun just to get them involved in that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that that's one of the nice things about Caerusnet is that, I provide a lot of stuff already there. But if you've got something that you think is going to help your team, help them either personally or whatever it might be, it's great that you can also help them in that capacity, because it also brings more value to them. They see also what you're able to accomplish as a business consultant. And if they have a personal experience where they're gaining, they're like, man, I need to share this Jeff guy with more people.
Pass me around.
That's right. Pass me around. Okay. So I always like to wrap up my podcast with wisdom. And I don't really have any Caerusnet podcasts that I've done with a member that hasn't been at least in the network for 1 year. And I do that very specifically because, people come into Caerusnet or any organization with ideas as to what it might look like for them, how they're going to conduct themselves in the network. And normally it takes a person, in my opinion, about 12 months to really find their voice in it, to have impacted enough other people to get some impact themselves. If I just put people on like the first month they join, I don't know how much wisdom they're going to have to share yet. So you've got some wisdom to share. What you say is the biggest piece of advice that you might have for any new member joining Caerusnet to help them have success on this relationship journey?
Probably two different aspects of it, I would say, Steve. One is be present at the meetings, whether they're virtual or live. Be present, participate. Even if it's just a couple of words here and there, even when you're doing your member minutes, have something different. Just like you say, create something different. And as a new member, strive to get those trust builders going as soon as possible. And it will help you in two facets. You're going to learn a lot more from each person you meet with on that trust builder in that 1 hour or so, however long you guys get together, versus a 60 or a 1 minute member minute. So you're going to have another 60 minutes as a face-to-face meeting with them. So if you can get through your group, that shows the members of the group that you're willing to engage. And it also gives you a chance to learn how to speak the Caerusnet language, so people start to build that trust factor for you.
Okay, yeah, that is really, really good advice. And, I often tell people that, the trust builders are so important because, like you said, otherwise you're just a face in a box or a person in a chair. The goal is to try to bring value to people. So, each person I do a trust builder with, There's that to-do part of the trust builder. That last T is the to-dos. I have to have something to do for that person when I do a trust builder, whether it's introducing them to another business for connection, or whether it's trying to refer them to another business that I think can, be a good client for them, but to just do an action. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of nice words. It's like dating, right? It's like, okay, he's saying a lot of nice things, but does he open the door for me? Does he, is he mindful of these things? And I think that it's the actions that we do that really help people realize that we're for real. And the more people you act on the behalf of, the more people are looking back to where their business came from, and they go, I need to help that person myself. They've been helpful to me. Jeff Graunke, great experience having you in Caerusnet. Take advantage of Jeff. He will help you look at your business. Very, very insightful. I've had an opportunity to go through some of your modules as well too, and I think they're very well done. So Thunder Bay Group, Jeff Graunke, you can